In Developing the Leader Within You, John C. Maxwell takes readers on a journey of self-discovery, focusing on the inner qualities and skills necessary for leadership. While leadership is often thought of in terms of outward influence, managing teams, making decisions, or guiding organizations, Maxwell insists that true leadership begins within. To become an effective leader, one must first learn to lead oneself. Leadership, Maxwell explains, is not just about position or title. Instead, it's about developing the character and habits that inspire others to follow your example. He introduces key leadership concepts that focus on personal growth, integrity, and the ongoing development of leadership skills. The book is an invitation for individuals to take responsibility for their personal leadership journey, recognizing that great leaders are made, not born. Throughout the book, Maxwell discusses the timeless principles that guide successful leaders and offers practical advice on how to cultivate the traits that will enable you to lead yourself and others more effectively. From understanding the importance of influence and priorities to mastering discipline and creating a vision, Developing the Leader Within You provides a framework for becoming a leader who others want to follow. Now let's begin by exploring one of the most fundamental principles of leadership in the first section, the definition of leadership, influence. Chapter 1, the definition of leadership, influence. In the opening chapter, Maxwell introduces the foundational idea that leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. He argues that many people mistakenly equate leadership with authority or position, but in reality, leadership is about the ability to influence others. Whether you're leading a large team, a small group, or even just yourself, your capacity to lead comes from your ability to positively influence those around you. Maxwell explains that influence is the key to leadership because it defines how well a leader can get people to move toward a common goal. He points out that some individuals may hold titles or positions of authority, but they are not necessarily effective leaders if they cannot influence the behavior, thoughts, and actions of others. Influence, Maxwell argues, is earned. It's not something that comes with a title or position. Rather, it must be cultivated through trust, relationships, and a track record of success. A leader's influence is not only about convincing others to follow, but also about inspiring them to act in alignment with the shared vision or mission of the group. To build influence, Maxwell advises that leaders must first invest in people. They must show genuine care and concern for the individuals they lead. People are more likely to follow a leader who is relatable, trustworthy, and focused on their success, rather than someone who is simply seeking to assert authority. Developing influence as a leader. One of the most important points Maxwell makes in this chapter is that influence can be developed over time. It is not a static quality, but one that can grow through deliberate action and consistent effort. Maxwell identifies several ways to build influence, including character. Integrity is the foundation of lasting influence. Leaders who are trustworthy, reliable, and consistent in their words and actions naturally gain the respect and trust of others. Relationships. Building strong, authentic relationships with others is essential to influence. Leaders who connect with people on a personal level and genuinely care about their well-being are more likely to inspire loyalty and cooperation. Knowledge. People are influenced by leaders who demonstrate expertise and knowledge in their field. By continually learning and growing, leaders increase their credibility and authority. Experience. Influence grows with time and experience. Leaders who have a history of making good decisions, achieving results, and overcoming challenges are more likely to be seen as capable and trustworthy. Maxwell also highlights the role of leadership in every aspect of life. Everyone has the potential to lead because everyone has the capacity to influence. Whether you're a parent influencing your children, a teacher influencing students, or a manager influencing your team, leadership is about using your influence to create positive change. The challenges of influence. While influence is critical to effective leadership, it is not always easy to cultivate. Maxwell acknowledges that some leaders may struggle with building influence, especially if they have inherited leadership roles without first earning the trust and respect of their teams. In such cases, it is essential to recognize that influence must be earned, and this requires consistent effort and patience. Additionally, leaders must be aware of how they use their influence. Maxwell warns that influence can be either positive or negative. While leaders have the power to inspire and uplift, they can also use their influence to manipulate or coerce. True leaders seek to use their influence for the benefit of others, rather than for personal gain. Maxwell encourages leaders to reflect on how they are currently influencing those around them. Are they building trust, fostering relationships, and inspiring positive action? Or are they relying on authority and position to command compliance? The goal is to become the kind of leader who others willingly follow because they believe in your vision and trust in your integrity. Moving forward in leadership. Maxwell concludes this chapter by emphasizing that influence is the foundation of all effective leadership. Whether you are leading a small team or a large organization, your ability to lead will ultimately be determined by your ability to influence others. As you develop your leadership skills, your influence will grow, allowing you to lead with greater impact. Now that we've established the core principle that leadership is about influence, Maxwell turns to another essential aspect of leadership: priorities. In the next chapter, we'll explore how great leaders manage their time and energy to maximize their effectiveness. Chapter 2, The Importance of Priorities. Focus on what really matters. In developing the leader within you, John C. Maxwell stresses that great leaders are distinguished by their ability to focus on what truly matters. One of the key ways they do this is through the consistent setting and management of priorities. Effective leaders understand that time and resources are limited, so they must be disciplined in how they allocate both. Maxwell opens this chapter by emphasizing that not all tasks are of equal value. He references the Pareto principle, also known as the 80-20th rule, which suggests that 80% of results come from 20% of efforts. For leaders, this means that only a small portion of their activities is likely to produce the most significant outcomes. The challenge lies in identifying and focusing on those high-impact activities while delegating or eliminating tasks that do not contribute meaningfully to their goals. In this chapter, Maxwell explains that leadership is often about making tough choices. Leaders must learn to say no to less important activities in order to say yes to what truly matters. For many leaders, this can be difficult, especially if they feel the pressure to be involved in every aspect of their organization or team. However, Maxwell argues that learning to prioritize is a skill that can be developed, and it's essential for long-term leadership success. The power of focus. Maxwell emphasizes that leaders who focus on their priorities are able to accomplish more with less effort. By concentrating their time, energy, and resources on the activities that produce the greatest results, leaders can maximize their influence and effectiveness. Leaders who do not manage their priorities will often find themselves overwhelmed, stretched too thin, and unable to make meaningful progress toward their goals. He offers practical advice for managing priorities, starting with the importance of identifying your top goals. Leaders need to ask themselves, what are the most important things I need to accomplish, and what activities will have the greatest impact on my organization and team? These questions help leaders clarify where they should be focusing their time and energy. Once priorities have been identified, the next step is to manage time accordingly. Maxwell points out that time management is not just about being busy, it's about being productive. Leaders must resist the temptation to fill their schedules with activities that don't align with their most important priorities. Instead, they must be disciplined in how they spend their time, ensuring that the majority of it is devoted to activities that drive progress toward their key goals. The importance of delegation. A crucial part of managing priorities is learning to delegate effectively. Maxwell explains that many leaders struggle with delegation because they feel that they can do things better or faster themselves. However, this mindset ultimately limits their leadership potential. By trying to do everything on their own, leaders not only burn themselves out, but they also prevent others on their team from growing and taking on new responsibilities. Maxwell encourages leaders to identify tasks that can be delegated and to trust their team to handle them. This not only frees up time for leaders to focus on higher-level priorities, but also empowers team members to develop their own skills and take ownership of their work. Delegation, Maxwell argues, is not a sign of weakness. It's a sign of strength. It shows that a leader is confident in their team's abilities and is willing to invest in their growth. Delegation also aligns with the broader principle of leadership development. By entrusting others with responsibility, leaders are helping to cultivate future leaders. This creates a ripple effect that extends beyond the leader's immediate influence, contributing to the long-term success of the organization. The discipline of saying no. One of the most challenging aspects of prioritization is learning to say no. Maxwell acknowledges that many leaders are naturally inclined to say yes to every opportunity, request, or challenge that comes their way. However, this can quickly lead to overload and burnout. Leaders who try to do everything often end up doing nothing well. Maxwell emphasizes that saying no is a necessary discipline for any effective leader. It's not about being uncooperative or disengaged. It's about protecting your time and energy so that you can focus on what truly matters. Leaders who master the art of saying no are better equipped to say yes to the things that align with their priorities and have the greatest potential for impact. He encourages leaders to evaluate every new opportunity or request by asking, "Does this align with my top priorities?" And, "Will this help me achieve my most important goals?" If the answer is no, then it's important to decline the request or delegate it to someone else. By doing so, leaders can remain focused on what really matters and avoid getting distracted by activities that don't contribute to their overall mission. Creating margin for growth. Maxwell also discusses the importance of creating margin in your schedule. While it's tempting for leaders to fill every available moment with work, Maxwell argues that effective leaders build in time for reflection, learning, and growth. Leadership is not just about doing more, it's about doing better. And in order to improve, leaders need time to think, reflect, and recharge. He encourages leaders to schedule time for personal development, whether through reading, attending seminars, or simply taking time to reflect on their experiences. This margin is crucial for maintaining the energy and clarity needed to lead effectively over the long term. It also allows leaders to stay ahead of changes and challenges by continuously learning and adapting. The impact of priorities on leadership. Maxwell concludes this chapter by emphasizing that leaders who manage their priorities well are not only more effective, but they also set an example for others. When team members see a leader who is focused, disciplined, and intentional about their time, they are more likely to adopt those habits themselves. This creates a culture of productivity and purpose that can elevate the entire organization. Effective leaders know that they cannot do everything. Instead, they focus on doing the right things, those activities that align with their goals and produce the greatest results. By managing their priorities, leaders increase their influence and effectiveness, allowing them to make a greater impact on the people and organizations they lead. With a clear understanding of the importance of managing priorities, Maxwell next turns to another critical aspect of leadership: integrity. In the following chapter, we'll explore how integrity forms the foundation of trust and credibility in leadership. Chapter 3. Integrity, the foundation of leadership. In this chapter, Maxwell asserts that integrity is the cornerstone of all true leadership. Without it, a leader's influence is unsustainable, and any success they achieve will be temporary. Integrity, he explains, is about consistency between a leader's words and actions. It's about honesty, trustworthiness, and staying true to one's values even when it's difficult or inconvenient. Leaders who demonstrate integrity are respected, trusted, and admired by their followers. Maxwell emphasizes that while skills, talent, and charisma are important for leaders, they are not enough to make someone a great leader. At the core of any lasting leadership is integrity. He defines integrity as doing the right thing even when no one is watching, and he argues that this quality is what sets great leaders apart from those who are simply in positions of authority. The power of trust. Maxwell begins by discussing the critical role that trust plays in leadership. He points out that leadership is based on relationships, and relationships are built on trust. When people trust their leader, they are more likely to follow, collaborate, and give their best effort. On the other hand, when trust is broken, it is incredibly difficult, if not impossible, to regain. He draws a connection between integrity and trust, explaining that leaders who consistently demonstrate integrity earn the trust of those they lead. People follow leaders whom they believe are ethical, fair, and consistent in their actions. Integrity is not just about avoiding dishonesty, it's about living in alignment with one's values and principles, in every aspect of leadership. Maxwell highlights that leaders who lack integrity, even if they are successful in the short term, will ultimately fail because they cannot build lasting trust. Followers may comply with a leader who lacks integrity because of positional authority, but they will not give their loyalty or respect. Without trust, leadership is reduced to mere management, where compliance is achieved through control, not influence. Integrity in action. Maxwell provides examples of how integrity manifests in leadership. One of the key components of integrity is transparency. Leaders with integrity are open about their decision-making process, their mistakes, and their motivations. They don't hide behind half-truths or manipulation. Instead, they communicate honestly with their team. He also emphasizes the importance of consistency. Leaders who act with integrity don't change their values based on convenience or pressure. Whether things are going well or they are facing challenges, leaders with integrity stay true to their principles. This consistency is what builds trust over time, as people know they can rely on the leader to act in a predictable and ethical manner. Maxwell explains that integrity also means taking responsibility. When things go wrong, leaders with integrity don't pass the blame to others. They own their mistakes and work to fix them. This sense of accountability not only strengthens the leader's credibility, but also sets an example for others to follow. Finally, Maxwell discusses how integrity requires leaders to prioritize the well-being of their team over personal gain. Leaders with integrity don't take advantage of their position for selfish purposes. Instead, they use their influence to help others grow and succeed. This servant leadership mentality is a hallmark of leaders who are respected and admired by their teams. The challenge of maintaining integrity. Maxwell acknowledges that maintaining integrity is not always easy. Leaders often face pressure to compromise their values in order to achieve short-term goals, please stakeholders, or avoid conflict. However, he argues that compromising integrity for any reason is never worth it in the long run. He warns that small compromises in integrity can lead to bigger ones over time. Leaders who allow themselves to cut corners or be dishonest in small matters may find it easier to justify unethical behavior in larger situations. Over time, these small compromises erode trust, credibility, and the leader's ability to influence others. Maxwell also points out that leaders are constantly being watched by those around them. Whether they realize it or not, their team members are observing how they handle pressure, how they treat others, and whether they follow through on their commitments. Any inconsistency between a leader's words and actions can lead to skepticism and distrust. Building integrity as a leader. While integrity is a personal quality, Maxwell emphasizes that it can be developed. He offers several strategies for building and maintaining integrity in leadership. Know your values. Leaders must be clear about what they stand for. This means taking the time to reflect on personal values and ensuring that those values are aligned with their actions. Leaders with strong integrity know what matters most to them and make decisions based on those core principles. Hold yourself accountable. Maxwell encourages leaders to regularly assess their actions and decisions to ensure they are in line with their values. Leaders should ask themselves, am I living up to the standards I expect from others? Seeking feedback from trusted colleagues or mentors can also help leaders identify blind spots and areas for improvement. Be transparent. Leaders with integrity don't hide their mistakes or failures. Instead, they are open about their challenges and willing to admit when they're wrong. This transparency not only builds trust, but also fosters a culture of openness within the team. Stay consistent. Consistency is key to maintaining integrity. Maxwell advises leaders to be the same person in all situations, whether they're facing success or failure, whether they're in a position of power or vulnerability. Consistency creates predictability, and predictability fosters trust. Put others first. Leaders with integrity focus on serving others rather than advancing their own interests. They prioritize the needs of their team, their organization, and the greater good over personal gain. This servant leadership approach is the foundation of trust and respect in any leadership context. The legacy of integrity. Maxwell concludes this chapter by discussing the lasting impact of integrity on a leader's legacy. He argues that while skills and accomplishments may fade over time, a leader's integrity will be remembered long after they are gone, Leaders who consistently act with integrity leave a positive and lasting impression on the people and organizations they lead. The legacy of integrity goes beyond personal success. It creates a culture of trust, accountability, and ethical behavior within the organization. Leaders with integrity inspire others to act with integrity, and this ripple effect strengthens the entire organization. In this way, a leader's integrity becomes their greatest contribution to the people they lead in the world around them. As we move forward in our exploration of leadership, Maxwell turns to another critical aspect of effective leadership: creating positive change. In the next chapter, we'll examine how leaders can inspire and implement change within their organizations, and why the ability to navigate change is essential for any successful leader. Chapter 4: Creating Positive Change. The Leader as a Catalyst. In this chapter, Maxwell asserts that the ability to create positive change is one of the most important characteristics of a leader. In fact, he goes so far as to say that if you cannot initiate and lead change, you are not really leading at all. The reason is simple. Leadership is about taking people and organizations from where they are to where they need to be. This journey always involves change because no progress or growth is possible without it. Maxwell introduces the concept of a leader as a catalyst for change. He explains that a leader's role is not merely to adapt to change, but to actively initiate and guide it. In every organization, change is inevitable, whether it comes from external forces, such as market shifts, or internal ones like the need for innovation. However, many people resist change because it can be uncomfortable or frightening. That's where leaders come in, to help their teams embrace change and see it as an opportunity rather than a threat. Understanding the need for change. One of the first responsibilities of a leader, according to Maxwell, is to recognize when change is necessary. Leaders must have the vision to see beyond the present circumstances and anticipate what the future will require. This foresight enables leaders to prepare their organizations for the challenges and opportunities that lie ahead. Maxwell emphasizes that change often arises from a gap between where the organization currently is and where it needs to be. The leader's role is to bridge that gap. Whether the change involves implementing new processes, restructuring the organization, or shifting the company's culture, leaders must first recognize that a gap exists and then take proactive steps to address it. He explains that great leaders are always looking for ways to improve. They don't become complacent with the status quo, and they don't shy away from challenging the norms. Leaders who are agents of change are continually asking questions like, what can we do better? How can we serve our customers more effectively? What is holding us back from reaching our full potential? By seeking out areas for improvement, leaders pave the way for positive change to occur, leading through change. Once a leader has recognized the need for change, the next challenge is to lead others through it. Maxwell explains that this is where many leaders stumble because they fail to understand the psychology of change. People tend to resist change because it introduces uncertainty, disrupts routines, and forces them out of their comfort zones. A leader's job is to help people overcome that resistance and embrace the change as a positive force for growth. Maxwell identifies several strategies for leading through change. Create a clear vision. People are more likely to embrace change if they understand where it's taking them. Leaders must be able to clearly articulate the vision for the change, what the future will look like once the change is implemented, and why it's necessary. This vision must be compelling enough to motivate people to move through the discomfort of change. Communicate constantly. Maxwell emphasizes that communication is critical during times of change. Leaders must provide consistent and transparent updates about the progress of the change, addressing any concerns or fears that may arise. By keeping the lines of communication open, leaders can build trust and reassure their teams that the change is under control. Lead by example. Leaders must model the behaviors they want to see in others. If a leader is hesitant or resistant to change, their team will pick up on that and be less likely to embrace the new direction. On the other hand, if the leader demonstrates enthusiasm and commitment to the change, their team will be more likely to follow suit. Empower others. Change is more likely to succeed when people feel that they have a say in the process. Leaders should involve their teams in decision-making and give them the responsibility to contribute to the success of the change. By empowering others, leaders foster a sense of ownership and accountability within the team, making them more invested in the outcome. Acknowledge and celebrate small wins. Change can be overwhelming, especially if the end goal feels far away. Maxwell advises leaders to break the change down into smaller, more manageable steps and to celebrate each milestone along the way. This helps maintain momentum and morale, showing the team that progress is being made. Overcoming resistance to change. Maxwell acknowledges that no matter how well a leader plans and communicates, resistance to change is inevitable. Some people will resist because they are afraid of the unknown, while others may be attached to the old way of doing things. Leaders must anticipate this resistance and be prepared to address it. One of the most effective ways to overcome resistance, Maxwell explains, is through relationship building. Leaders who have built strong, trusting relationships with their teams will find it easier to lead them through change. When people trust their leader, they are more likely to believe that the change is in their best interest and to follow the leader's guidance. Maxwell also emphasizes the importance of patience during times of change. Change can be difficult and disruptive, and people may need time to adjust. Leaders should not expect immediate buy-in from everyone, but should instead take the time to listen to concerns, provide support, and help individuals navigate the transition. Finally, Maxwell warns leaders not to take resistance personally. It's natural for people to feel anxious or uncertain during times of change, and their resistance is often a reflection of those feelings rather than a rejection of the leader's vision. Leaders must remain calm, confident, and persistent in their efforts to guide their teams through the process. The leader's role as a change agent. Maxwell explains that leaders must embrace their role as change agents. This means not only initiating change when necessary, but also creating a culture that encourages continuous improvement and innovation. Leaders who are committed to positive change are always looking for ways to grow, both personally and professionally, and they foster that same mindset within their teams. Leaders who create a culture of change encourage their teams to take risks, experiment with new ideas, and embrace failure as a learning opportunity. In this kind of environment, change is not something to be feared, but something to be embraced as a natural part of growth. Maxwell concludes the chapter by reminding leaders that the ability to create positive change is one of the most powerful tools they have. Leaders who master the art of change not only improve their organizations, but also leave a lasting legacy of progress and innovation. As Maxwell puts it, change is inevitable. Growth is optional. The choice is yours. Now that we've explored the leader's role in creating positive change, we move on to another essential aspect of leadership, problem solving. In the next chapter, Maxwell discusses how great leaders tackle challenges and solve problems with creativity and resilience. Chapter 5, Problem Solving. Leaders are problem solvers. John C. Maxwell begins this chapter by stating a simple truth about leadership. All leaders are problem solvers. Leadership is not about avoiding problems, but about facing them head-on with confidence and determination. In any organization, problems are inevitable. Whether they stem from external challenges, internal conflicts, or unforeseen obstacles, problems are a constant part of the leadership landscape. How leaders deal with these problems often determines their effectiveness and the success of their teams. Maxwell asserts that a leader's ability to solve problems is one of the most important skills they can develop. While some people may shy away from problems, effective leaders understand that every problem presents an opportunity for growth, learning, and innovation. The best leaders don't view problems as setbacks. They see them as chances to improve their organizations, refine their strategies, and build stronger teams. The nature of problems in leadership. Maxwell explains that leaders don't just inherit problems. They often create new problems as a natural byproduct of leading and driving change. In earlier chapters, Maxwell discussed how leadership is about creating positive change. But with every change, new challenges and problems emerge. For example, introducing a new strategy or organizational structure may lead to unexpected resistance or confusion. Developing new products or services may create unforeseen technical or logistical challenges. Therefore, the ability to anticipate, address, and solve these problems is essential for any leader who wants to move forward. Leaders must learn to expect problems as a normal part of the leadership journey. Maxwell emphasizes that instead of avoiding or dreading problems, leaders should embrace them as part of the job. When leaders accept that problems are inevitable, they are better prepared to face them with the right mindset. A leader's problem-solving mindset. Maxwell identifies that successful problem solvers have a specific mindset that enables them to tackle issues effectively. First and foremost, great leaders approach problems with a positive attitude. They don't let challenges overwhelm them or cloud their judgment. Instead, they maintain optimism, believing that every problem has a solution, even if it isn't immediately apparent. Maxwell points out that maintaining a positive attitude is essential because a leader's reaction to problems sets the tone for the entire team. When leaders stay calm, composed, and solution-oriented in the face of problems, they inspire confidence in their team members. On the other hand, if leaders panic, become frustrated, or avoid addressing issues, their team is likely to feel the same way. In addition to a positive attitude, Maxwell explains that leaders must adopt a proactive approach to problem solving. This means being on the lookout for potential problems before they become crises. Leaders who are proactive don't wait for problems to escalate before addressing them. They anticipate challenges, monitor the situation, and take preventive action whenever possible. By staying ahead of problems, leaders can often mitigate their impact or prevent them from occurring altogether. Finally, Maxwell emphasizes the importance of maintaining objectivity when solving problems. Leaders must avoid letting their emotions or personal biases cloud their judgment. When faced with a problem, it's essential to assess the situation as objectively as possible, gathering all the necessary information and considering different perspectives before making a decision. The steps to problem solving. Maxwell outlines several key steps that leaders can follow to effectively solve problems. These steps provide a structured approach that helps leaders navigate even the most complex challenges. Identify the problem. The first step in solving any problem is recognizing that it exists. Maxwell explains that one of the most common mistakes leaders make is failing to properly identify the root of a problem. Instead, they may address symptoms rather than the underlying issue. Leaders need to take the time to diagnose the problem accurately, understanding what's truly causing it. Define the problem clearly. Once the problem has been identified, it's important to define it in clear and specific terms. Maxwell suggests that leaders ask themselves, what exactly is the problem, and why is this a problem? By clearly defining the issue, leaders ensure that they and their teams are aligned in their understanding of the challenge at hand. Prioritize the problem. Not all problems are created equal. Some issues are urgent and require immediate attention, while others are less critical and can be addressed later. Leaders must learn to prioritize problems based on their potential impact on the organization. Maxwell advises leaders to focus on the most pressing and significant issues first, rather than trying to solve everything at once. Look for solutions. With the problem clearly defined and prioritized, the next step is to brainstorm possible solutions. Maxwell emphasizes that leaders should involve their team in this process whenever possible. Collaborative problem-solving not only leads to better solutions, but also fosters a sense of ownership and accountability among team members. Choose the best solution. After evaluating potential solutions, leaders must make a decision. Maxwell stresses the importance of considering both the short-term and long-term consequences of each option. Leaders need to choose a solution that not only addresses the immediate problem, but also aligns with the organization's broader goals and values. Implement the solution. Once a solution has been chosen, it's time to put it into action. Maxwell notes that this is where many problem-solving efforts fall apart. Leaders must ensure that they have the necessary resources, support, and follow-through to implement the solution effectively. It's important to communicate the plan clearly to everyone involved and to monitor progress to ensure that the problem is being resolved as expected. Evaluate the results. Finally, leaders should evaluate the outcome of their problem-solving efforts. Did the solution work as intended? Are there any unintended consequences? What lessons can be learned from the experience? By reflecting on the results, leaders can improve their problem-solving skills and be better prepared for future challenges. Creating a problem-solving culture. Maxwell emphasizes that problem-solving is not just a leadership skill. It's a culture that leaders must cultivate within their organizations. A leader's ability to solve problems effectively sets the tone for how their team or organization approaches challenges. By modeling proactive, positive problem-solving behaviors, leaders encourage their team members to adopt the same mindset. Maxwell explains that organizations with a strong problem-solving culture are more agile, resilient, and innovative. Teams in these organizations don't fear problems. They embrace them as opportunities to learn and grow. Leaders play a critical role in fostering this culture by empowering their people to take ownership of problems and encouraging open communication about challenges. A key part of creating a problem-solving culture is encouraging collaboration. Leaders should promote an environment where team members feel comfortable bringing up issues and sharing ideas for solutions. Maxwell argues that leaders should seek input from a variety of perspectives, as this often leads to more creative and effective solutions. Learning from problems. Maxwell concludes the chapter by emphasizing that problems, while often seen as obstacles, are actually valuable learning opportunities for leaders. Every problem presents a chance to gain new insights, refine strategies, and develop leadership skills. He encourages leaders to approach problems with a growth mindset, viewing them as opportunities to build resilience and improve their decision-making abilities. In particular, Maxwell highlights the importance of learning from failure. Not every solution will work as planned, and not every problem will be solved perfectly on the first attempt. However, leaders who take the time to reflect on their mistakes and learn from their failures are the ones who ultimately grow and improve over time. Maxwell's message is clear. Great leaders are not defined by their ability to avoid problems, but by their ability to solve them. Leaders who develop strong problem-solving skills are able to navigate challenges with confidence, maintain the trust of their teams, and drive their organizations forward. Chapter 6. The Power of Vision, Leading with a Compelling Future. In this chapter, John C. Maxwell dives into one of the most critical elements of effective leadership, vision. Vision, Maxwell asserts, is the guiding star for both leaders and their teams. It provides direction, motivation, and purpose. Without vision, leaders and their organizations wander aimlessly, lacking clarity and a sense of purpose. On the other hand, when a leader has a clear, compelling vision, it becomes a powerful force that drives both the leader and their followers toward achieving something greater. Maxwell defines vision as a clear picture of the future that a leader is working to create. It's not just about setting goals or objectives. It's about imagining what the organization, team, or community could become and inspiring others to work toward that future. Vision gives people a reason to push forward, even when the road is difficult or uncertain. It transforms ordinary efforts into extraordinary achievements. The importance of vision in leadership. Maxwell begins by explaining that vision is the foundation of leadership. A leader's primary responsibility is to cast a vision for the future that resonates with others and inspires them to take action. Without vision, leadership becomes nothing more than management, focused on maintaining the status quo rather than moving forward. Maxwell argues that vision is the difference between success and failure for any organization. Leaders with vision know where they're going and can communicate that direction to their teams. This clarity of purpose helps people align their efforts, stay focused on the most important goals, and avoid distractions. In contrast, leaders without vision struggle to inspire their teams, and their organizations often stagnate, losing momentum and focus. Vision also plays a crucial role in motivating and energizing people. When team members understand the larger purpose behind their work, they are more likely to feel engaged, committed, and passionate about what they do. They see themselves as part of something bigger, and this sense of shared purpose drives them to put forth their best effort. In short, vision gives meaning to the work that people do. How leaders create vision. Maxwell acknowledges that some leaders naturally have a strong sense of vision, while others need to develop this skill. He reassures readers that vision is not an inherent trait. It's something that can be cultivated over time with the right mindset and approach. According to Maxwell, the first step in creating a compelling vision is self-reflection. Leaders need to ask themselves, what do I want to achieve? What kind of future do I want to create for my team or organization? Vision begins with a deep understanding of one's own values, goals, and aspirations. Leaders who are clear about their own purpose are better equipped to articulate a vision that aligns with those values. Maxwell emphasizes that a powerful vision is more than just a personal dream. It must also be rooted in reality. Effective leaders ground their vision in a realistic assessment of their organization's current situation, resources, and challenges. While vision should be ambitious and forward-thinking, it must also be attainable. Leaders must find a balance between imagining what could be and understanding the practical steps needed to get there. One of the most important elements of creating a vision is understanding the needs and aspirations of the people you lead. Maxwell encourages leaders to listen to their team members, customers, and stakeholders to gain insight into what matters most to them. A great vision is not created in isolation. It reflects the collective hopes and dreams of the organization. By involving others in the visioning process, leaders ensure that the vision resonates with the people who will ultimately work to bring it to life. Maxwell also highlights the importance of visualization. He suggests that leaders spend time imagining what the future could look like in vivid detail. What does success feel like? What are people accomplishing? How are lives being improved? The more clearly a leader can see the future, the more effectively they can communicate it to others. Communicating the vision. Once a vision has been created, the next crucial step is communicating it. Maxwell explains that a vision is only effective if others understand and embrace it. Leaders must become master communicators, able to share their vision in a way that inspires, motivates, and unites their team. One of the key challenges in communicating vision is making it simple and clear. Maxwell advises leaders to distill their vision into a message that is easy to understand and remember. If the vision is too complex or vague, it will lose its impact. Leaders should be able to explain their vision in a way that captures its essence and resonates emotionally with their audience. Maxwell also emphasizes the importance of repetition. Sharing the vision once is not enough. Leaders must continuously reinforce the vision in their day-to-day interactions with their teams. Every decision, meeting, and communication should reflect the vision, reminding people of where the organization is headed and why their work matters. When leaders consistently talk about and live the vision, it becomes ingrained in the culture of the organization. To effectively communicate vision, Maxwell suggests that leaders focus on the why behind the vision. People are more likely to follow a vision if they understand its purpose. Leaders should explain not just what they want to achieve, but why it's important. How will the vision improve the organization? How will it benefit team members, customers, or the broader community? When people understand the deeper meaning behind the vision, they are more likely to commit to it. Inspiring commitment to the vision. Maxwell stresses that casting a vision is only the beginning. Leaders must also inspire commitment to that vision. It's not enough for the leader to believe in the vision. The team must believe in it too. This requires leaders to connect the vision to people's personal aspirations and values. One way to inspire commitment is by involving others in the process. When people feel that they have a stake in the vision, they are more likely to take ownership of it. Maxwell suggests that leaders invite input and feedback from their teams, giving them a sense of agency in shaping the future. Leaders who engage their teams in the visioning process build trust and create a sense of shared responsibility. Maxwell also emphasizes the importance of modeling the vision. Leaders must embody the vision in their own actions and behaviors. If a leader talks about innovation but resists change in their own work, the vision will lose credibility. Leaders who live the vision every day inspire others to do the same. To sustain commitment, Maxwell advises leaders to celebrate progress toward the vision. Recognizing and rewarding small wins helps to build momentum and keeps people motivated. Leaders should look for opportunities to highlight how the organization is moving closer to the vision, reinforcing the idea that the vision is achievable. The role of vision in overcoming challenges. Maxwell points out that vision is especially important during times of challenge or uncertainty. When leaders face difficult situations, having a clear vision helps them stay focused and resilient. It reminds them of the bigger picture and provides a sense of purpose that keeps them moving forward. For team members, a compelling vision can be a source of motivation and hope during tough times. When people are faced with setbacks, they may be tempted to give up or lose faith. However, if the leader has effectively communicated a vision that is inspiring and meaningful, team members are more likely to persevere. Vision provides a sense of direction, even when the path is not clear. Maxwell illustrates this point with the story of Walt Disney, whose vision of creating a magical world for families and children fueled the creation of Disneyland. Disney faced numerous challenges, including financial difficulties, skepticism from others, and even personal health issues. However, his unwavering belief in his vision kept him going. And today, Disney's vision lives on as one of the most beloved entertainment companies in the world. Maxwell's message is clear. Vision sustains leaders through adversity. Leaders who have a strong sense of vision are able to navigate uncertainty with confidence, knowing that they are working toward a future that is worth striving for. The legacy of visionary leadership. Maxwell concludes this chapter by discussing the lasting impact of visionary leadership. A leader's vision can outlive them, continuing to guide and inspire future generations. Visionary leaders leave a legacy not just in the form of their accomplishments, but in the values, culture, and direction they set for their organizations. Maxwell emphasizes that great leaders are not just focused on immediate results. They are thinking about the long-term future. They are building something that will endure beyond their tenure, and their vision is the foundation for that lasting impact. Leaders who take the time to create and communicate a powerful vision leave behind a blueprint for success that others can follow. Maxwell encourages readers to reflect on the legacy they want to leave as leaders. What kind of future are they working to create? How will their vision impact the lives of others? By focusing on vision, leaders can ensure that their influence extends far beyond their own leadership journey. Chapter 7, Self-Discipline, the Foundation of Leadership Success. In this chapter, John C. Maxwell emphasizes the central role that self-discipline plays in the life of a leader. He opens by stating that without self-discipline, no leader can reach their full potential. While leadership requires vision, passion, and the ability to inspire others, it also requires the personal discipline to follow through on commitments, stay focused on goals, and make difficult choices. Maxwell argues that self-discipline is the engine that drives leadership forward. It ensures that leaders can consistently perform at their best and serve as role models for those they lead. Maxwell defines self-discipline as the ability to do what needs to be done, even when you don't feel like doing it. It's about mastering your habits, emotions, and impulses so that you can stay focused on your long-term goals. Leaders with self-discipline are able to resist short-term temptations in favor of long-term success. This ability to delay gratification and prioritize what's important is what separates effective leaders from those who fail to live up to their potential. The importance of consistency in leadership. Maxwell begins by discussing the importance of consistency. Self-discipline ensures that leaders are consistent in their actions, decisions, and behaviors. Consistency is vital in leadership because it builds trust. When people know what to expect from their leader, they feel more secure and confident in their direction. On the other hand, leaders who are inconsistent in their behavior, who make decisions based on their moods or emotions, create uncertainty and confusion within their teams. Maxwell explains that consistency is particularly important in setting an example for others. Leaders who are disciplined in their own work habits, time management, and decision-making processes inspire their team members to do the same. When team members see their leader consistently putting in the effort, making sacrifices, and staying focused on the organization's goals, they are more likely to follow suit. Leaders with self-discipline also avoid the pitfall of procrastination. They don't wait for the perfect time to take action or put off important tasks. Instead, they make a habit of taking action, even when it's uncomfortable or difficult. This proactive approach not only helps them achieve their own goals, but also keeps their team moving forward. The relationship between self-discipline and success. Maxwell emphasizes that success in any area of life is directly tied to self-discipline. Whether it's in business, personal development, or relationships, the ability to stick to a plan, follow through on commitments, and resist distractions is key to achieving long-term success. While talent, intelligence, and creativity are important, they are not enough without self-discipline. Maxwell points out that many talented people fail to reach their potential simply because they lack the discipline to focus on what really matters. One of the reasons self-discipline is so important in leadership is that it allows leaders to maintain their focus on long-term goals. In a world full of distractions, It's easy to get sidetracked by short-term opportunities or immediate gratification. However, leaders who are disciplined are able to stay focused on their bigger vision, even when faced with obstacles or temptations to deviate from the plan. This ability to stay the course is what enables leaders to achieve their long-term objectives and build lasting success. Maxwell shares the story of Bill Gates, the founder of Microsoft, to illustrate the power of self-discipline in leadership. Gates, known for his incredible work ethic and focus, consistently made sacrifices in the early years of Microsoft to ensure the company's success. His discipline in pursuing his vision for personal computing revolutionized the industry and helped make Microsoft one of the most successful companies in the world. Maxwell uses this example to show that discipline isn't just about hard work. It's about maintaining a clear focus on the long-term goals that matter most. Developing self-discipline as a leader. Maxwell is clear that self-discipline is not an innate trait. It is a skill that can be developed over time. He provides several strategies for leaders who want to strengthen their discipline and improve their effectiveness. The first step in developing self-discipline is understanding your priorities. Maxwell explains that leaders must be crystal clear about what's most important to them, both personally and professionally. Without a clear sense of priorities, it's easy to get distracted by less important tasks or demands. Leaders should take the time to reflect on their values, goals, and the activities that will have the greatest impact on their success. Once these priorities are identified, they should serve as the guiding force behind all decisions and actions. Maxwell also emphasizes the importance of time management in self-discipline. Leaders who are disciplined manage their time effectively, ensuring that they spend the majority of their time on activities that align with their priorities. They avoid wasting time on tasks that don't contribute to their goals, and they protect their schedule from unnecessary interruptions. Maxwell encourages leaders to plan their day in advance, setting aside specific blocks of time for their most important tasks and minimizing distractions. Another key to developing self-discipline is holding yourself accountable. Maxwell suggests that leaders regularly evaluate their performance and ask themselves, am I staying true to my goals and priorities? Leaders who are self-disciplined take responsibility for their actions and hold themselves to high standards. They don't make excuses when they fall short. They learn from their mistakes and adjust their behavior accordingly. Maxwell also encourages leaders to create routines and habits that support their discipline. Successful leaders often have daily routines that help them stay focused and productive. Whether it's starting the day with exercise, setting aside time for reflection, or following a specific workflow, these habits create a sense of structure and consistency that reinforces self-discipline. By automating certain aspects of their day, leaders free up mental energy for more important decisions. The connection between self-discipline and emotional intelligence. Maxwell makes an important connection between self-discipline and emotional intelligence. He explains that leaders who are disciplined are better able to manage their emotions, particularly in stressful or challenging situations. Emotional intelligence, the ability to understand and manage one's own emotions and the emotions of others, is a critical component of effective leadership, and self-discipline plays a major role in developing this skill. Leaders with self-discipline are able to stay calm under pressure, even when faced with difficult decisions or setbacks. Instead of reacting impulsively to challenges, they take a step back, assess the situation, and make thoughtful decisions. This emotional control not only helps leaders make better choices, but also creates a sense of stability and confidence within the team. Maxwell also notes that self-discipline allows leaders to avoid the emotional highs and lows that can derail progress. Leadership can be an emotional roller coaster, with moments of great success followed by moments of disappointment or frustration. Leaders who lack discipline may become overly excited during good times or overly discouraged during tough times, which can lead to poor decision-making. However, disciplined leaders maintain an even-keeled approach, allowing them to navigate both successes and failures with grace and perspective. Overcoming obstacles to self-discipline. While self-discipline is essential for leadership success, Maxwell acknowledges that it's not always easy to maintain. Leaders face numerous obstacles that can challenge their discipline, from external distractions to internal struggles. Maxwell identifies several common challenges to self-discipline and offers strategies for overcoming them. One of the biggest obstacles to self-discipline is temptation. In today's fast-paced world, leaders are constantly bombarded with opportunities that promise quick rewards or instant gratification. Whether it's the temptation to take shortcuts, prioritize short-term gains, or avoid difficult decisions, these distractions can easily derail a leader's focus. Maxwell advises leaders to be vigilant about recognizing temptations and to stay committed to their long-term goals, even when the immediate payoff is enticing. Another challenge is lack of motivation. There will inevitably be days when leaders feel unmotivated or fatigued, making it difficult to stay disciplined. Maxwell suggests that leaders focus on their why, the deeper purpose behind their goals. When leaders connect their daily actions to their broader mission or values, they are more likely to stay motivated, even when they don't feel like putting in the effort. Maxwell also warns against the danger of complacency. Leaders who have achieved a certain level of success may be tempted to relax their discipline, assuming that they've made it. However, Maxwell argues that self-discipline is just as important after success as it is during the climb to success. Leaders who let their guard down after achieving their goals risk losing momentum and falling back into old habits. To avoid complacency, Maxwell encourages leaders to continually set new goals and challenges for themselves, ensuring that they stay disciplined and focused on growth. The legacy of self-discipline. Maxwell concludes the chapter by emphasizing the long-term impact of self-discipline on leadership. While self-discipline requires short-term sacrifices, it leads to long-term rewards. Leaders who develop and maintain self-discipline achieve greater success, build stronger teams, and leave a lasting legacy within their organizations. Maxwell explains that self-discipline is not just about personal success. It's about creating a culture of discipline within the organization. Leaders who model self-discipline set the standard for their team members, inspiring them to develop their own discipline and work habits. This ripple effect can transform the entire organization, leading to higher performance, greater accountability, and sustained success. Ultimately, Maxwell believes that self-discipline is one of the most important traits of a leader. Without it, even the most talented leaders will struggle to reach their full potential. With it, leaders can achieve extraordinary results and leave a lasting impact on their teams, organizations, and the world. Chapter 8. The Law of Influence. Leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. John C. Maxwell opens this chapter with a powerful statement. Leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. He argues that the true measure of a leader is not found in their job title, formal authority, or position of power, but in their ability to influence others. Leadership at its core is about getting others to follow, to buy into your vision, and to take action toward achieving shared goals. Maxwell's premise is that influence is the bedrock of all leadership, and it's the leader's ability to positively impact others that defines their effectiveness. Maxwell asserts that many people mistakenly believe that leadership is tied to a title or a position in an organizational hierarchy. However, he challenges this notion, stating that titles don't make leaders. People make leaders. A person can hold a position of authority, but lack the influence needed to inspire or motivate others. On the other hand, someone without an official title can still have significant influence over their peers and become a leader in their own right. This distinction between positional authority and true leadership is central to Maxwell's philosophy. The foundation of influence. Maxwell explains that influence is not a one-time event. It's something that is built over time through consistent actions, behaviors, and relationships. Leaders must earn the trust and respect of others before they can influence them. Influence is about creating a connection with others, understanding their needs, and guiding them in a direction that benefits both the individual and the organization. There are several key factors that contribute to a leader's ability to build influence. Character. Maxwell stresses that character is the foundation of influence. Leaders must have integrity and demonstrate honesty, consistency, and reliability in their actions. When people trust a leader's character, they are more likely to follow that leader's direction. Conversely, leaders who lack integrity may hold power for a short time, but their influence will eventually erode as people lose trust in them. Relationships. Influence is built on relationships. Leaders who genuinely care about their team members, listen to their concerns, and invest in their personal and professional growth are more likely to earn influence. Maxwell explains that leadership is relational, not transactional. People are more likely to follow someone they believe values and respects them, rather than someone who only seeks to use them to achieve their own goals. Knowledge. A leader's expertise and knowledge also contribute to their influence. When leaders are knowledgeable about their field or industry, they gain credibility in the eyes of their followers. People look to leaders who can provide guidance and solutions, and leaders who are constantly learning and improving their skills become trusted sources of wisdom and advice. Experience. Maxwell points out that leaders with a track record of success naturally have more influence. Experience shows that the leader has navigated challenges, overcome obstacles, and achieved results. This experience builds confidence in the leader's abilities and encourages others to follow their lead. Vision. Leaders with a compelling vision are often the most influential. When leaders can articulate a clear and inspiring vision for the future, they give people something to believe in and work toward. This vision provides direction, purpose, and motivation for the leader's followers. The myth of positional leadership. One of the most common misconceptions about leadership is that it comes from position or title. Maxwell refers to this as the myth of positional leadership. He explains that while a leadership title may grant someone authority over others, it does not automatically make them a leader. True leadership is earned through influence, not bestowed by a title. Maxwell uses the example of managers in a corporate setting. Some managers may rely solely on their position to exert control over their team, demanding compliance because they are the boss. However, this type of positional leadership often leads to resentment, disengagement, and a lack of motivation among team members. Positional leaders may have authority, but they do not have influence, and as a result, their teams are less likely to perform at their best. In contrast, Maxwell highlights that real leaders lead from a place of influence, even if they don't hold formal authority. These leaders gain the trust and respect of their peers and team members by demonstrating their commitment to the team's success, their competence in their field, and their willingness to serve others. People naturally gravitate toward leaders who they believe have their best interests at heart. The process of building influence. Maxwell describes the process of building influence as a journey. Influence doesn't happen overnight. It takes time, consistency, and intentional effort. Leaders must demonstrate their commitment to their team and their vision through repeated actions that build trust and credibility. One of the key elements in building influence is servant leadership. Maxwell explains that influential leaders don't focus on their own power or prestige. Instead, they focus on serving others. Leaders who put the needs of their team above their own personal agenda gain influence because people recognize that the leader is genuinely invested in their success. Servant leadership fosters loyalty, respect, and a deeper connection between the leader and their followers. Maxwell also emphasizes the importance of emotional intelligence in building influence. Leaders must be able to understand and manage their own emotions, as well as empathize with the emotions of others. By developing strong emotional intelligence, leaders are able to connect with their team on a personal level, build rapport, and create an environment of trust and open communication. Influence and leadership at every level. One of Maxwell's key points in this chapter is that influence is not limited to those at the top of an organization. Leadership can and should happen at every level. Whether you're a CEO, a middle manager, or an entry-level employee, you have the potential to influence those around you. The key is to focus on building relationships, developing your skills, and consistently demonstrating your commitment to the team's success. Maxwell explains that influence is not a zero-sum game. There's no limit to how much influence one person can have or how many people can lead within an organization. In fact, organizations that encourage leadership at every level are often more dynamic, innovative, and successful. When everyone is empowered to lead, the organization benefits from a wider range of perspectives, ideas, and solutions. The levels of influence. Maxwell introduces the idea that leadership operates on different levels of influence. He explains that while leaders can influence people in a variety of ways, the depth and effectiveness of their influence grow as they move through different levels of leadership. The more trust and respect a leader builds, the more influence they will have. At the most basic level, leaders may influence others through positional power, their authority to make decisions or give orders. However, Maxwell stresses that this is the lowest form of influence. As leaders build relationships, demonstrate competence, and act with integrity, their influence deepens and becomes more powerful. At the highest levels, leaders influence others through personal example, inspiring others to follow not because they have to, but because they want to. Sustaining influence over time. Maxwell concludes the chapter by explaining that sustaining influence requires ongoing growth and development. Leaders must continue to invest in their personal and professional growth if they want to maintain their influence. This means constantly learning, improving their skills, and staying adaptable to changing circumstances. Leaders who become complacent or rely solely on their past achievements risk losing their influence over time. Maxwell encourages leaders to continually seek feedback from their team, mentors, and peers to ensure they are staying aligned with the needs and expectations of those they lead. Leaders who are open to feedback and willing to make changes are more likely to maintain their influence in the long run. Ultimately, Maxwell's message is clear. Leadership is about influence, and the most successful leaders are those who earn their influence through integrity, relationships, and a commitment to serving others. Influence is the foundation of all leadership, and those who master the art of influence will be able to guide their teams and organizations to greater heights of success. Before we dive into the next chapter, we have noticed that 72% of you who listen to our video are not yet subscribed to the channel. Please help support our channel by hitting the subscribe button and like the video. Thanks for inspiring us to create more content for you. Chapter 9. Priorities. Focus on what really matters. John C. Maxwell begins this chapter by pointing out a simple but often overlooked truth. Successful leaders understand the importance of setting priorities. Leadership is not just about doing many things, it's about doing the right things. Leaders who excel are those who are laser-focused on activities that will bring the greatest return for themselves, their teams, and their organizations. Maxwell highlights that prioritizing is one of the most important disciplines a leader can develop. Leaders are constantly bombarded with demands for their time and attention, but not all tasks or responsibilities are of equal importance. The challenge lies in knowing how to filter through the noise and determine which activities will have the most significant positive impact. Leaders who don't prioritize risk becoming overwhelmed and distracted by less important tasks, which ultimately detracts from their effectiveness. The Pareto Principle, 80-20 Rule. One of the key concepts Maxwell introduces in this chapter is the Pareto Principle, commonly known as the 80-20th Rule. This principle states that roughly 80% of results come from 20% of efforts. In other words, a small fraction of activities often produce the majority of outcomes. The most effective leaders understand this principle and focus their time and energy on the critical 20% of activities that will drive 80% of their success. Maxwell emphasizes that leaders must be able to identify the activities that fall into that critical 20%. These are the tasks that align with the leader's vision, the organization's goals, and the needs of the team. By honing in on these high-impact activities, leaders can maximize their effectiveness and ensure that they are spending their time where it matters most. Maxwell explains that leaders who fail to prioritize often find themselves bogged down by low-impact tasks, meetings that don't move the needle, projects that are irrelevant to long-term goals, or requests that serve other people's agendas rather than their own. These distractions sap a leader's time and energy, leaving them with little bandwidth to focus on what truly matters. The power of saying no. Maxwell makes a critical point about leadership. Leaders must learn to say no. For many people, especially those in leadership positions, saying no can be difficult. There is often pressure to please others, meet demands, or take on additional responsibilities. However, Maxwell argues that one of the most valuable skills a leader can develop is the ability to say no to tasks that don't align with their priorities. Saying no is not about being uncooperative or shirking responsibility. It's about protecting your time and focus. Leaders must recognize that they have limited time and energy, and they cannot afford to squander these valuable resources on activities that don't serve their core mission. Maxwell reminds readers that every time you say yes to something, you are saying no to something else. often something more important. Great leaders understand the trade-offs and make deliberate choices to focus on the activities that have the highest return. Maxwell shares the example of Steve Jobs, who was known for his ability to focus on a few key projects at Apple and say no to countless other ideas. Jobs believed in concentrating resources on the company's most important initiatives and cutting out distractions, even when those distractions seemed like good opportunities. This intense focus on a few priorities allowed Apple to produce groundbreaking innovations like the iPhone and the MacBook. Urgent versus important. Maxwell introduces another critical distinction that leaders must make: the difference between urgent tasks and important tasks. Many leaders get caught up in urgent matters, tasks that demand immediate attention, such as emails, phone calls, and crises that pop up unexpectedly. While these tasks may feel pressing, they are not always aligned with the leader's most important goals. Maxwell argues that the best leaders prioritize important tasks over urgent tasks. Important tasks are those that contribute directly to the leader's long-term vision and goals. They may not always be urgent, but they are the activities that will ultimately move the organization forward. Leaders must have the discipline to focus on these important tasks, even when the urgent demands of the day threaten to pull them off course. To help illustrate this point, Maxwell refers to Dwight D. Eisenhower's matrix, which categorizes tasks based on their level of urgency and importance. The matrix is divided into 4 quadrants: urgent and important, important but not urgent, urgent but not important, and neither urgent nor important. Great leaders spend the majority of their time in the important but not urgent quadrant, where they can focus on strategic planning, relationship building, and long-term goals. Maxwell stresses that leaders must schedule time for important tasks. If leaders don't proactively carve out time for these activities, their schedules will quickly be consumed by the demands of others. Leaders who prioritize the urgent over the important often find themselves reacting to situations rather than shaping them, and this reactive approach undermines their effectiveness. Personal and organizational priorities. Maxwell explains that leaders must manage 2 sets of priorities: personal priorities and organizational priorities. Both are critical to leadership success. On a personal level, leaders must identify the priorities that will help them grow, maintain balance, and achieve their own goals. Maxwell encourages leaders to regularly reflect on their personal vision and values, ensuring that their daily actions align with their long-term objectives. This might include setting aside time for personal development, building relationships with mentors, or focusing on health and well-being. Leaders who neglect their personal priorities risk burnout and stagnation, which ultimately impacts their ability to lead effectively. On an organizational level, leaders must prioritize the activities that will have the greatest impact on the success of their team or company. This requires a clear understanding of the organization's goals, as well as the ability to delegate tasks that don't require the leader's direct involvement. Maxwell explains that leaders who try to do everything themselves are less effective than those who delegate responsibility and empower others to take ownership of key initiatives. Leading by example. Maxwell emphasizes that leaders must lead by example when it comes to setting priorities. If leaders are constantly busy with trivial tasks, their team will assume that this is the norm. Conversely, if leaders demonstrate a commitment to focusing on high-impact activities, their team will follow suit. Leadership sets the tone for the entire organization, and great leaders model the behaviors they expect from others. Maxwell shares the story of John D. Rockefeller, the founder of Standard Oil, who was known for his incredible ability to prioritize. Rockefeller understood that his time was valuable, and he meticulously focused on the activities that would yield the greatest return for his company. His ability to prioritize effectively allowed him to build one of the most successful businesses in history. By focusing on what truly matters, Rockefeller not only led his company to financial success, but he also set an example for his team. His disciplined approach to prioritization influenced the culture of his organization, where employees were encouraged to focus on results rather than busy work. The role of focus in prioritization. Maxwell argues that focus is the key to effective prioritization. Leaders who are easily distracted or spread too thin across multiple projects often struggle to make meaningful progress in any area. In contrast, leaders who are focused on a few key priorities can make significant strides toward their goals. Maxwell explains that focus requires discipline and intentionality. It's not enough to set priorities once and assume that everything will fall into place. Leaders must constantly evaluate how they are spending their time and make adjustments as needed. This might mean cutting out certain activities, delegating tasks, or saying no to opportunities that don't align with the leader's core mission. Maxwell also suggests that leaders periodically review their progress to ensure that their priorities remain aligned with their long-term vision. As circumstances change, leaders may need to adjust their priorities to reflect new challenges or opportunities. However, the key is to remain focused on the big picture and avoid getting bogged down by short-term distractions. Achieving balance through prioritization. One of the common challenges that leaders face is achieving balance between competing demands. With so many responsibilities vying for attention, it can be difficult to juggle everything effectively. Maxwell argues that prioritization is the solution to this problem. By focusing on the most important activities and letting go of less important tasks, leaders can create balance in their lives and avoid burnout. Maxwell points out that balance doesn't mean doing everything equally. It means doing the right things at the right time. Leaders must be able to adapt their focus based on the current needs of their team and organization. There will be times when certain priorities require more attention than others. And that's okay. The key is to be intentional about where you direct your energy and to ensure that you're always working toward the most important goals. Maxwell concludes the chapter by reiterating that leadership is about making choices. Leaders must have the courage to prioritize, even when it's difficult or unpopular. They must be willing to say no to good opportunities in order to focus on great ones. Ultimately, the ability to set and stick to priorities is one of the defining traits of effective leadership. Chapter 10. Creating Positive Change. The Leader's Role as a Catalyst. John C. Maxwell begins this chapter by highlighting that leaders are change agents. Their job isn't just to maintain what already exists, but to drive improvement and growth. The best leaders don't wait for change to happen. They initiate it. They understand that change is inevitable, and their role is to ensure that the changes taking place are positive, intentional, and aligned with the organization's goals. Maxwell notes that many people resist change because it disrupts their comfort zone. For leaders, however, comfort is the enemy of progress. He argues that the best leaders are those who constantly ask the question, how can we do this better? They are proactive about identifying areas for improvement and aren't afraid to challenge existing systems, processes, or beliefs if it means advancing the organization. Leaders as catalysts for change. Maxwell explains that one of the most important roles of a leader is to act as a catalyst for change. A catalyst is something that initiates or accelerates a reaction, and in the context of leadership, it refers to the leader's ability to inspire and guide their team through transformation. The process of leading change begins with vision. Leaders must have a clear and compelling vision for what the future could look like. This vision serves as the guiding star for the changes the leader seeks to implement. Maxwell explains that people are more likely to embrace change when they can see how it aligns with a larger purpose or goal. Leaders must paint a vivid picture of the benefits that change will bring, not just to the organization, but also to the individuals within it. Maxwell shares the example of Martin Luther King Jr., whose leadership during the civil rights movement was fueled by his powerful vision of equality and justice for all. King's ability to communicate this vision inspired millions to embrace change, even in the face of tremendous resistance. Maxwell points out that effective leaders, like King, are able to rally others around a shared vision and motivate them to work toward that vision, even when the path forward is challenging. Why people resist change. Despite the leader's best efforts, Maxwell acknowledges that resistance to change is natural. Many people fear the unknown, and change often brings uncertainty. For some, the status quo feels safer because it's familiar, even if it's not ideal. Maxwell explains that a key part of leadership is understanding the psychology behind this resistance and finding ways to help people overcome their fears. One of the reasons people resist change is because they don't understand why it's necessary. Maxwell argues that leaders must communicate the why behind the change. It's not enough to simply issue a directive and expect people to fall in line. Leaders must explain the rationale for change, how it will benefit the organization, and why it's important for the future. When people understand the reasons behind the change, they are more likely to support it. Another reason people resist change is because they worry about how it will affect them personally. Maxwell emphasizes the importance of empathy in leadership. Leaders must acknowledge people's concerns and address them head-on. This might involve providing reassurance, offering support, or showing how the change will create new opportunities for growth and development. Maxwell also warns leaders against making the mistake of forcing change too quickly. Change, he explains, is a process, and it takes time for people to adjust. Leaders who try to push through change without giving people time to adapt risk, creating resentment and pushback. Instead, Maxwell advises leaders to introduce change gradually, allowing time for people to understand and accept it. The power of small wins. Maxwell introduces the concept of small wins as a strategy for managing change. He explains that when leaders try to implement sweeping changes all at once, they often encounter resistance and setbacks. However, by breaking the change process down into smaller, more manageable steps, leaders can create a series of small wins that build momentum. Each small win reinforces the idea that the change is both achievable and beneficial. As people begin to see the positive results of the initial changes, they become more open to larger transformations. Maxwell encourages leaders to celebrate these small victories and use them as opportunities to build trust and confidence within the team. For example, if a leader is trying to improve productivity within a department, they might start by implementing a few small changes, perhaps streamlining a specific process or introducing a new tool. Once the team sees how these changes have improved their workflow, they'll be more receptive to additional changes aimed at boosting efficiency. Maxwell explains that small wins reduce the psychological burden of change. When people are faced with a massive overhaul, it can feel overwhelming. But when they experience success in smaller increments, it builds confidence and makes the larger change seem less daunting. Fostering a culture of innovation. In addition to leading change, Maxwell argues that leaders must create a culture of innovation within their organizations. Change should not be a one-time event. It should be an ongoing process that is embedded in the organization's DNA. Leaders who foster a culture of innovation encourage their teams to continually seek out new ideas, solutions, and ways of doing things. Maxwell explains that innovation thrives in an environment where people feel empowered to take risks and challenge the status quo. Leaders must create a safe space for experimentation, where team members are encouraged to try new approaches without fear of failure. Maxwell notes that failure is an inevitable part of the innovation process, and great leaders recognize that it's often through failure that the most valuable lessons are learned. One way to foster innovation, according to Maxwell, is by promoting collaboration. When people from different departments, backgrounds, or perspectives come together, they bring diverse ideas and insights that can lead to breakthroughs. Leaders should encourage cross-functional collaboration and create opportunities for team members to share their ideas and work together on innovative solutions. Maxwell also stresses the importance of recognizing and rewarding creativity. Leaders who value innovation must show their team that creative thinking is appreciated and rewarded. This might involve acknowledging employees who come up with new ideas, offering incentives for successful innovations, or simply providing positive feedback to those who take initiative. Leading change through personal example. Maxwell makes it clear that leaders cannot expect others to embrace change if they are not willing to change themselves. Leading by example is one of the most powerful tools a leader has when it comes to driving change. When leaders demonstrate a commitment to personal growth and improvement, it sends a strong message to the rest of the organization. Maxwell shares the story of Jack Welch, the former CEO of General Electric, who led one of the most successful organizational transformations in business history. Welch understood that if he wanted to create a culture of continuous improvement at GE, he needed to start by modeling that behavior himself. He was known for his relentless focus on personal and organizational growth, and he pushed his executives to do the same. Welch's example inspired his team to embrace change and helped GE become one of the most innovative and successful companies in the world. Maxwell explains that leaders who want to create positive change must be willing to step outside their own comfort zones. This might mean learning new skills, adopting new technologies, or rethinking old ways of doing things. By showing a willingness to grow and adapt, Leaders inspire others to follow suit. The long-term impact of change. Maxwell concludes this chapter by emphasizing that lasting change takes time. While it's possible to make quick improvements, the most meaningful changes are those that are sustained over the long term. Leaders must have the patience and perseverance to see the change process through, even when it's difficult or takes longer than expected. Maxwell encourages leaders to take a long-term view when it comes to change. Rather than focusing on immediate results, leaders should think about how their efforts will shape the future of the organization. Positive change is not always visible right away, but with persistence and dedication, it will eventually bear fruit. Maxwell reminds readers that the best leaders are those who leave a lasting legacy. They are the leaders who initiate change, inspire others to embrace it, and build organizations that continue to innovate long after they are gone. By creating a culture of continuous improvement, leaders ensure that their organizations remain adaptable, resilient, and successful in an ever-changing world. Chapter 11. Problem solving. You can't let your problems be a problem. John C. Maxwell begins this chapter by emphasizing that problems are a natural and inevitable part of leadership. No matter how well-prepared or skilled a leader may be, challenges will arise. What distinguishes great leaders from average ones is their ability to face problems head-on and solve them effectively. Maxwell argues that how a leader responds to problems defines their effectiveness. Leaders who are overwhelmed by problems or avoid them weaken their ability to lead, while those who confront and solve problems gain the respect and trust of their teams. Maxwell explains that leadership is often about navigating through uncertainty and adversity. The more responsibility a leader takes on, the more complex and challenging the problems they will face. However, rather than seeing problems as setbacks, great leaders view them as opportunities to grow, learn, and strengthen their leadership skills. Understanding the nature of problems. Maxwell makes the important point that problems are not necessarily bad. Many people view problems as roadblocks to success, but Maxwell encourages leaders to adopt a different perspective. Problems, he explains, are often opportunities in disguise. They force leaders to think creatively, make tough decisions, and find innovative solutions. Without problems, leaders might become complacent or fail to push themselves and their organizations to higher levels of performance. Maxwell shares the story of Walt Disney, who faced numerous setbacks and challenges throughout his career. From financial difficulties to business failures, Disney encountered many problems that could have derailed his dreams. But instead of giving up, Disney saw these challenges as opportunities to innovate and improve. His resilience in the face of adversity helped him build one of the most successful and beloved entertainment empires in history. Maxwell points out that every problem has the potential to teach a valuable lesson. Leaders who approach problems with an open mind and a willingness to learn will come out stronger on the other side. By viewing problems as growth opportunities, leaders can transform challenges into stepping stones for success. The leader's role in problem solving. Maxwell explains that a key part of a leader's role is to anticipate problems before they arise. Great leaders are proactive in identifying potential issues and addressing them early, rather than waiting for them to escalate into crises. This requires foresight and strategic thinking. Leaders who are constantly scanning the horizon for potential challenges are better equipped to handle them when they occur. Maxwell introduces the concept of problem ownership. He explains that effective leaders take full responsibility for solving problems, regardless of whether the problem was caused by their own actions or by external factors. Leaders who shift blame or avoid accountability erode their credibility and trust within the organization. In contrast, leaders who step up and take ownership of solving problems inspire confidence in their team and set a positive example of responsibility and resilience. Maxwell emphasizes that leaders must be solution-focused. It's easy to get bogged down in the details of a problem, but effective leaders focus on finding solutions rather than dwelling on the problem itself. They maintain a positive, forward-looking mindset, asking questions like, "How can we fix this?" Or, "What's the best way forward?" This solution-oriented approach not only helps to resolve problems more quickly, but also boosts morale and keeps the team focused on progress. The process of problem solving. Maxwell provides a framework for approaching problem solving, which begins with defining the problem clearly. Leaders must ensure that they understand the full scope and root cause of the problem before attempting to solve it. Often, the initial issue that presents itself is just a symptom of a deeper problem. Leaders who rush to fix the symptom without addressing the underlying cause will find that the problem keeps resurfacing. Once the problem is clearly defined, the next step is to generate potential solutions. Maxwell encourages leaders to involve their team in this process, as diverse perspectives often lead to more creative and effective solutions. By encouraging collaboration, leaders not only tap into a broader range of ideas, but also foster a sense of ownership and commitment within the team. Maxwell stresses the importance of evaluating the potential solutions before taking action. Leaders should consider the short and long-term impacts of each option, as well as the resources required to implement them. Effective leaders weigh the pros and cons of each solution and choose the one that aligns best with their vision and goals. After selecting a solution, implementation is key. Maxwell reminds leaders that even the best solutions will fail if they are not executed properly. Leaders must ensure that their team has the resources, support, and clarity needed to implement the solution effectively. This may involve delegating tasks, setting deadlines, and providing ongoing guidance. Finally, Maxwell emphasizes the importance of evaluating the results. Once a solution has been implemented, leaders must assess whether it has effectively resolved the problem. If not, they must be willing to make adjustments or explore alternative solutions. This ongoing evaluation process ensures that the leader remains agile and responsive to changing circumstances. Staying calm under pressure. One of the most important qualities of a great problem solver is the ability to stay calm under pressure. Maxwell explains that when leaders panic or become overly emotional, they lose their ability to think clearly and make rational decisions. This not only hampers the problem-solving process, but also creates a sense of instability and anxiety within the team. Maxwell shares the example of Winston Churchill, who was known for his calm and resolute leadership during World War II. In the face of extreme pressure and uncertainty, Churchill remained focused and composed, which inspired confidence in the British people and rallied them to persevere through the darkest days of the war. Churchill's ability to stay calm in the midst of crisis was one of the keys to his success as a leader. Maxwell encourages leaders to develop emotional resilience by practicing self-awareness and emotional regulation. Leaders who can manage their own emotions are better equipped to handle the emotions of their team and maintain a positive, solutions-oriented environment, building a problem-solving culture. Maxwell concludes the chapter by discussing the importance of building a problem-solving culture within an organization. Leaders must foster an environment where team members feel empowered to identify problems, propose solutions, and take action. This culture of ownership and accountability ensures that problems are addressed quickly and effectively at all levels of the organization. Maxwell explains that leaders can build this culture by modeling effective problem-solving behavior themselves. When leaders demonstrate a proactive, solution-oriented approach to problems, it sets the tone for the rest of the organization. Leaders should also encourage open communication, where team members feel comfortable bringing up issues and suggesting solutions. Additionally, Maxwell highlights the importance of recognizing and rewarding problem-solving efforts. Leaders who acknowledge and celebrate team members who take initiative in solving problems reinforce the behaviors they want to see in their organization. This recognition not only boosts morale, but also encourages others to adopt a problem-solving mindset. By creating a culture where problems are seen as opportunities for growth and innovation, leaders can build a more dynamic, resilient, and successful organization. Maxwell reminds readers that problems are not something to be feared. They are a natural part of leadership. Great leaders embrace problems, solve them, and emerge stronger as a result. Chapter 12. Vision, the power of seeing the future. John C. Maxwell opens this chapter by stating that vision is the ability to see the future with clarity and purpose. Vision is what enables leaders to guide their organizations or teams toward a better tomorrow. Maxwell asserts that without vision, leadership lacks direction, and followers are left without a clear understanding of where they are headed. Vision is the foundation upon which great leadership is built, and it is a key factor in a leader's ability to inspire and motivate others. Maxwell explains that vision is not just about setting goals. It's about creating a vivid picture of the future that people can see, feel, and believe in. A great leader's vision acts as a compass, providing direction and focus even in times of uncertainty or difficulty. Leaders who can effectively communicate their vision create a sense of purpose and meaning that resonates with their followers, encouraging them to work together toward a common objective. The source of vision. Maxwell explores the question of where vision comes from, explaining that vision is often born out of a leader's passion and purpose. Great leaders are driven by a deep sense of purpose, and their vision reflects their desire to make a meaningful impact on the world. This passion fuels their vision, giving them the motivation and determination to pursue it, even when the path is difficult. Maxwell uses the example of Nelson Mandela, whose vision for a free and equal South Africa sustained him through decades of imprisonment and hardship. Mandela's vision was not just a political goal, it was a deeply personal commitment to justice and equality. This unwavering vision inspired millions of people to join the fight for freedom and ultimately led to the dismantling of apartheid. Leaders must ask themselves, what am I passionate about? What do I want to achieve? Vision, according to Maxwell, must come from a place of genuine passion. Leaders who are disconnected from their vision or who pursue goals that don't align with their values will struggle to inspire others. Vision is more than a strategic plan. It's a reflection of a leader's heart and soul. Maxwell also emphasizes that vision requires imagination. Leaders must be able to see beyond the current circumstances and envision a future that does not yet exist. This ability to imagine new possibilities sets visionary leaders apart. They can see opportunities where others see obstacles, and they are willing to challenge the status quo in pursuit of their vision. Communicating the vision. Maxwell explains that having a vision is not enough. Leaders must be able to communicate their vision effectively. A vision that remains in the leader's mind is useless unless it is shared and embraced by others. Leaders must paint a clear and compelling picture of the future, one that resonates with their followers and inspires them to take action. Maxwell provides practical advice on how leaders can communicate their vision in a way that engages and motivates others. He emphasizes the importance of clarity. Leaders must be able to articulate their vision in simple, straightforward terms that everyone can understand. A vision that is too vague or complex will fail to inspire action because people won't know what they are working toward. Maxwell also stresses the need for passion in communicating the vision. Leaders must be enthusiastic and confident in their vision if they want others to believe in it. Passion is contagious, and when leaders speak with conviction, they inspire others to share in their excitement and commitment. Maxwell encourages leaders to lead with their heart when sharing their vision, as this emotional connection can be more powerful than any logical argument. In addition to clarity and passion, Maxwell highlights the importance of repetition. He explains that leaders must repeat their vision often to ensure that it stays top of mind for their followers. People need to hear the vision multiple times before it truly sinks in, and consistent communication reinforces its importance. Leaders who only mention their vision once or twice risk losing momentum, as their team may forget or lose focus on the larger goal. Maxwell shares the example of Walt Disney, whose vision for Disneyland was so clear and compelling that he was able to inspire his team to turn it into a reality. Disney repeatedly communicated his vision, despite the skepticism and challenges he faced. He described Disneyland in vivid detail, helping his team see exactly what he envisioned, from the park layout to the rides to the overall experience for visitors. This level of clarity and repetition ensured that everyone involved in the project was aligned with the vision and working toward the same goal. Aligning the team with the vision. Maxwell emphasizes that one of the key responsibilities of a leader is to ensure that the entire team is aligned with the vision. Alignment means that everyone understands the vision, believes in it, and is committed to working toward it. Leaders must take the time to engage with their team, listen to their concerns, and help them see how their individual contributions fit into the larger vision. Maxwell explains that people are more likely to embrace a vision when they feel personally connected to it. Leaders must help their team members understand how the vision aligns with their own values, goals, and aspirations. When people feel that they have a stake in the vision's success, They are more motivated to contribute their best efforts. Maxwell uses the example of Martin Luther King Jr., whose vision for racial equality resonated deeply with millions of people. King's ability to connect his vision to the personal experiences and aspirations of his followers was a key factor in the success of the civil rights movement. King didn't just share his vision, he helped people see how they could be part of the change, and he inspired them to take action. Leaders must also be willing to make adjustments to their vision when necessary. Maxwell explains that while the core of a vision should remain consistent, leaders must be adaptable and open to feedback from their team. Sometimes, circumstances change, or new information comes to light that requires the vision to evolve. Leaders who are too rigid in their vision risk alienating their team or missing out on new opportunities. The challenges of vision. Maxwell acknowledges that pursuing a vision is not without challenges. In fact, the road to realizing a vision is often filled with obstacles, setbacks, and resistance. However, great leaders understand that these challenges are a natural part of the process, and they are prepared to persevere. One of the biggest challenges leaders face is resistance to change. People are often comfortable with the status quo, and they may be hesitant to embrace a new vision that requires them to change their habits, routines, or way of thinking. Maxwell explains that leaders must be patient and persistent in overcoming this resistance. They must continue to communicate the benefits of the vision and show people why the change is necessary for the organization's success. Maxwell also discusses the challenge of maintaining focus and momentum over the long term. Pursuing a vision is not a sprint, it's a marathon. Leaders must be able to sustain their own energy and enthusiasm, as well as that of their team, over the course of months or even years. This requires discipline, resilience, and a long-term perspective. To overcome these challenges, Maxwell encourages leaders to break the vision down into smaller, more manageable goals. By setting milestones along the way, leaders can keep the team motivated and focused on achieving incremental progress. Celebrating these small victories helps maintain momentum and reinforces the team's belief in the vision. Vision and leadership legacy. Maxwell concludes the chapter by discussing the lasting impact of a leader's vision. He explains that vision is one of the most important elements of a leader's legacy. Long after a leader is gone, their vision can continue to inspire and guide future generations. Leaders who have a clear, compelling vision leave behind a framework for continued growth and success. Maxwell uses the example of Bill Gates, whose vision of a computer on every desk and in every home revolutionized the tech industry and transformed the way people live and work. Gates' vision didn't just benefit Microsoft. It reshaped the entire world and continues to influence technological innovation today. Gates' legacy as a visionary leader is firmly established, not only because of his business success, but because of the profound and lasting impact of his vision. Maxwell encourages leaders to think about the legacy they want to leave behind. A leader's vision should not only focus on short-term goals, but also consider the long-term impact on the organization and the broader community. Leaders who develop a vision that transcends their own tenure create lasting value and contribute to the growth and success of future leaders. Maxwell's message is clear. Vision is the cornerstone of great leadership. Leaders who develop and communicate a compelling vision create a sense of purpose and direction that inspires others to follow. Vision is what transforms a group of individuals into a unified team working toward a common goal. It is the leader's ability to see the future, articulate that future, and guide others toward it that defines their effectiveness and impact. Chapter 13, Self-Discipline, the Foundation of Leadership. In this chapter, John C. Maxwell argues that self-discipline is the cornerstone of leadership. While vision and passion are essential for motivating others, they are not enough to sustain long-term success. Great leaders understand that self-discipline, the ability to control one's thoughts, actions, and emotions, is what allows them to achieve their goals and maintain their credibility. Maxwell begins by explaining that self-discipline is about doing what needs to be done, even when you don't feel like doing it. This is where many aspiring leaders fall short. They may have big dreams and ambitions, but without the discipline to follow through on their commitments, those dreams remain unrealized. Self-discipline, according to Maxwell, is what separates the leaders who succeed from those who fail. It is the ability to push through discomfort, delays, and difficulties, in pursuit of a larger goal. Leading yourself first. Maxwell makes it clear that leaders cannot expect to lead others effectively if they have not first mastered the art of leading themselves. This means that leaders must hold themselves to high standards of discipline and accountability. Leaders who lack self-discipline may struggle with inconsistency, make poor decisions, or fail to follow through on their promises. This in turn damages their credibility and weakens their ability to inspire and lead others. Maxwell shares the example of Abraham Lincoln, whose self-discipline and commitment to personal growth helped him become one of America's greatest presidents. Lincoln faced numerous setbacks in his early career, including failures in business, politics, and his personal life. However, Lincoln's self-discipline allowed him to persevere through these challenges and continue to develop his leadership skills. His ability to maintain composure, think critically, and stay focused on his vision for the country made him an exemplary leader during one of the most tumultuous periods in American history. Self-discipline and personal growth. Maxwell explains that self-discipline is essential for personal growth. Leaders must continually strive to improve themselves, and this requires the discipline to invest time and effort into learning, self-reflection, and self-improvement. Leaders who become complacent or believe they've reached the pinnacle of their abilities often find themselves falling behind. Maxwell argues that self-discipline involves being intentional about personal development. Leaders must set aside time to read, study, and learn new skills. They must also seek feedback from others and be willing to reflect on their own mistakes and weaknesses. This process of continuous improvement is what allows leaders to stay ahead of the curve and be prepared for new challenges. Maxwell shares the story of Benjamin Franklin, who is widely regarded as one of the most disciplined individuals in history. Franklin famously developed a personal system of self-discipline, which he referred to as his 13 virtues. Each week, Franklin would focus on improving one of these virtues, such as temperance, frugality, or humility, while also tracking his progress in a journal. This system of disciplined self-improvement helped Franklin become one of the most influential figures in American history, excelling in a wide range of fields, including science, politics, and philosophy. Maxwell explains that leaders who are committed to personal growth model self-discipline for their team. By showing a dedication to self-improvement, leaders inspire others to do the same. When leaders make personal growth a priority, it sets the tone for the rest of the organization and creates a culture of learning and development. Consistency in leadership. Maxwell emphasizes that consistency is one of the hallmarks of disciplined leadership. Leaders who are inconsistent in their behavior, decision-making, or communication erode trust and weaken their influence. Consistency in leadership means that a leader's words and actions align over time, and followers can rely on them to act with integrity and follow through on their commitments. Maxwell explains that consistency requires self-discipline, as it means doing the right thing day after day, even when it's difficult or inconvenient. This kind of disciplined consistency builds trust with followers, who know that they can count on their leader to act with integrity, regardless of the circumstances. One of the greatest examples of consistent leadership is George Washington, who demonstrated unwavering discipline during the American Revolution. As the commander of the Continental Army, Washington faced numerous hardships, including lack of supplies, extreme weather conditions, and demoralized troops. Despite these challenges, Washington remained steadfast in his commitment to the cause of independence. His disciplined leadership and ability to maintain his composure under pressure earned him the loyalty of his troops and helped lead America to victory. Maxwell explains that leaders must be disciplined in how they manage their time, energy, and priorities. Effective leaders know that they cannot afford to waste time or get distracted by unimportant tasks. Instead, they focus their energy on the activities that will have the greatest impact on achieving their vision. This requires the discipline to say no to distractions and to delegate tasks that do not align with the leader's priorities. Overcoming temptations and shortcuts. Maxwell acknowledges that maintaining self-discipline is not easy, especially when faced with temptations or the allure of shortcuts. Many leaders are tempted to take the easy way out, whether it's cutting corners on a project, avoiding difficult conversations, or making decisions based on short-term gains rather than long-term success. However, Maxwell warns that shortcuts undermine credibility and trust, and they often lead to bigger problems down the road. Maxwell explains that disciplined leaders understand the importance of playing the long game. They are willing to make sacrifices in the short term for the sake of achieving their long-term vision. This may mean delaying gratification, putting in extra hours, or making tough decisions that are unpopular in the moment. However, disciplined leaders know that these sacrifices are necessary for long-term success. Maxwell shares the example of Steve Jobs, whose disciplined focus on quality and innovation helped transform Apple into one of the most successful companies in the world. Jobs was known for his insistence on excellence, and he refused to compromise on the quality of Apple's products, even when it meant longer development timelines or higher costs. Jobs' disciplined approach paid off, as Apple's commitment to innovation and design became one of its key competitive advantages. Maxwell explains that leaders must develop the mental toughness to resist temptations and shortcuts. This requires having a clear vision of the future and staying focused on long-term goals, even when it's difficult. Leaders who cultivate self-discipline are better able to maintain their focus and persevere through challenges. Discipline and decision-making. Self-discipline also plays a crucial role in a leader's decision-making process. Maxwell explains that disciplined leaders take the time to think through their decisions carefully. They do not make impulsive choices or react emotionally to situations. Instead, they rely on their values, principles, and long-term vision to guide their decision-making. Maxwell points out that leaders often face pressure to make quick decisions, especially in high-stakes situations. However, he cautions that haste can lead to poor choices that have lasting negative consequences. Disciplined leaders know when to slow down and take the time needed to gather information, evaluate options, and make thoughtful decisions. Maxwell also emphasizes the importance of discipline in sticking to one's decisions. Once a decision has been made, leaders must have the discipline to see it through, even if they encounter resistance or obstacles. Leaders who constantly second-guess themselves or change course frequently undermine their own authority and confuse their followers. Cultivating self-discipline. Maxwell concludes the chapter by providing practical advice on how leaders can cultivate self-discipline in their own lives. He explains that self-discipline is not something that people are born with. It is a skill that can be developed through practice and commitment. Leaders who are serious about becoming more disciplined must be intentional about their efforts. Maxwell encourages leaders to start by identifying the areas where they need to improve their self-discipline. This might include time management, decision-making, communication, or personal habits. Once these areas have been identified, leaders should set specific goals for improvement and create a plan to achieve them. Maxwell emphasizes the importance of accountability in developing self-discipline. Leaders who hold themselves accountable for their actions are more likely to stay disciplined over the long term. This might involve setting regular check-ins with a mentor, coach, or accountability partner who can provide feedback and encouragement. Maxwell also encourages leaders to celebrate their progress. Developing self-discipline is a journey, and it's important to acknowledge and celebrate the small wins along the way. This helps to build momentum and reinforce the habits of self-discipline. Finally, Maxwell reminds leaders that self-discipline is an ongoing process. It's not something that can be mastered overnight, nor is it something that can be neglected once it's been achieved. Leaders must commit to practicing self-discipline every day, knowing that it is the foundation of their success. Chapter 14. Staff Development, Growing Others to Grow the Organization. In this chapter, John C. Maxwell begins by explaining that the greatest leaders focus not just on their own growth, but on developing the people around them. Leadership is a collaborative effort, and an organization's success is directly tied to the growth and development of its people. Maxwell argues that leaders who fail to invest in the development of their team limit the organization's potential. Conversely, leaders who prioritize staff development not only improve the skills and abilities of their team members, but also create a more engaged, motivated, and productive workforce. Maxwell asserts that leaders are responsible for the growth of their people. It is the leader's job to provide opportunities, support, and guidance that enable team members to reach their full potential. Staff development is not a passive activity. Leaders must be intentional and strategic about how they nurture the growth of their people. When leaders commit to growing others, they contribute to a culture of continuous improvement, where everyone is working toward becoming the best version of themselves. The importance of empowerment. Maxwell emphasizes that one of the most effective ways leaders can develop their team is by empowering them. Empowerment involves giving people the authority, responsibility, and resources they need to make decisions and take ownership of their work. Leaders who micromanage or fail to delegate stifle their team's growth. In contrast, leaders who trust their team members and provide them with the autonomy to make decisions foster a sense of ownership and accountability. Maxwell uses the example of Jack Welch, the former CEO of General Electric, who was known for his commitment to empowering his employees. Welch believed in decentralizing decision-making and giving his managers the freedom to run their divisions with autonomy. This empowerment led to a more dynamic and innovative organization, where employees felt trusted and motivated to contribute their best ideas and efforts. Maxwell explains that empowerment is not just about delegation, it's about equipping people with the skills and resources they need to succeed. Leaders must invest in training, mentorship, and coaching to ensure that their team members have the tools to take on new responsibilities. When people are empowered with the right support, they are more likely to take initiative, solve problems, and grow in their roles. The leader as a mentor. Maxwell highlights the role of the leader as a mentor in staff development. Mentorship is a powerful way to invest in the growth of others, as it involves a deeper level of guidance, support, and personal investment. Great leaders recognize that they have a responsibility to mentor the next generation of leaders, sharing their wisdom, experience, and insights to help others grow. Maxwell explains that mentorship goes beyond formal training programs. It involves one-on-one relationships where leaders take the time to understand the individual goals, challenges, and strengths of their team members. Through regular conversations, feedback, and guidance, mentors help their mentees navigate challenges, set meaningful goals, and develop the skills needed for success. Maxwell shares the story of John Wooden, the legendary UCLA basketball coach who was known not only for his success on the court, but for his role as a mentor to his players. Wooden's mentorship extended beyond basketball. He taught his players valuable life lessons about character, discipline, and leadership. Wooden's commitment to developing his players as individuals was one of the key factors in his success as a coach, and many of his former players went on to become successful leaders in their own right. Maxwell encourages leaders to adopt a mentorship mindset, to view their role as not just managing tasks, but developing people. By taking the time to mentor others, leaders create a legacy of growth and leadership that extends beyond their own career. Creating a culture of development. Maxwell explains that leaders who are serious about staff development must focus on creating a culture of development within their organization. This means that growth and learning are not just individual efforts, but are embedded into the fabric of the organization's culture. In a development-focused culture, everyone is encouraged to seek out learning opportunities, share knowledge, and support each other's growth. One of the ways leaders can create this culture is by encouraging continuous learning. Maxwell argues that in today's fast-changing world, organizations must be constantly evolving and adapting. Leaders who promote a culture of learning ensure that their team members are staying up to date with the latest trends, technologies, and best practices. This can be achieved through ongoing training programs, workshops, seminars, and other learning opportunities. Maxwell points out that learning should not be limited to formal training programs. Leaders should also encourage informal learning through peer-to-peer knowledge sharing, collaboration, and experimentation. When team members feel empowered to learn from each other and try new things, it fosters a culture of curiosity, innovation, and growth. Maxwell highlights the importance of recognizing and rewarding development efforts. Leaders who acknowledge and celebrate the growth and achievements of their team members reinforce the behaviors they want to see. This recognition not only boosts morale, but also encourages others to invest in their own growth. Leaders can celebrate development through public recognition, promotions, or by providing new opportunities for growth. Maxwell provides the example of Google, which is known for its culture of innovation and development. Google encourages its employees to dedicate a portion of their time to personal projects, which has led to the creation of some of the company's most successful products. This culture of development allows employees to explore new ideas, learn new skills, and contribute to the company's growth in creative ways. Identifying potential leaders. Maxwell explains that one of the most important aspects of staff development is identifying and nurturing potential leaders. Great leaders are always on the lookout for individuals with leadership potential, and they invest in developing those individuals into future leaders. Maxwell argues that leaders must be proactive in identifying potential leaders, rather than waiting for talent to emerge on its own. Maxwell provides a framework for identifying potential leaders, which includes looking for individuals who demonstrate initiative, accountability, and a desire to grow. Leaders should look for team members who take ownership of their work, seek out opportunities to improve, and consistently deliver results. These individuals are often the ones who are most likely to step into leadership roles in the future. Once potential leaders have been identified, Maxwell emphasizes the importance of providing opportunities for leadership development. This might include giving them increased responsibilities, assigning them to lead projects, or providing them with mentorship from senior leaders. By giving these individuals opportunities to lead in small ways, leaders can help them build the confidence and skills they need to take on larger leadership roles. Maxwell also encourages leaders to be intentional about succession planning. Leaders who fail to develop a pipeline of future leaders risk leaving a leadership vacuum when they move on or retire. Succession planning involves identifying key roles within the organization and ensuring that there are individuals who are prepared to step into those roles when the time comes. This requires long-term thinking and a commitment to developing leaders at all levels of the organization. The benefits of developing others. Maxwell concludes the chapter by discussing the benefits of investing in staff development. He explains that leaders who prioritize the growth of their team members not only create a more skilled and capable workforce, but also strengthen the organization as a whole. When people feel that they are growing and developing, they are more engaged, motivated, and committed to the organization's success. Maxwell points out that organizations with a strong focus on development are better positioned to adapt to change. As the business environment continues to evolve, organizations that have invested in the development of their people are more agile and responsive to new challenges. Leaders who develop their team members ensure that the organization has the talent and expertise needed to thrive in a competitive marketplace. Moreover, Maxwell explains that leaders who invest in the growth of others leave a lasting legacy. Their influence extends beyond their own achievements, as they have helped to develop the next generation of leaders. This legacy of growth and development continues to benefit the organization long after the leader has moved on. Maxwell uses the example of Bill Gates, who, through his leadership at Microsoft and his philanthropic efforts, has helped to develop countless leaders and innovators. Gates's commitment to developing others has had a profound impact, not only on the tech industry, but on global health, education, and development through the work of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Maxwell encourages leaders to ask themselves, am I investing in the growth of my team? Leaders who are focused solely on their own success are missing the opportunity to create a broader, more meaningful impact. By developing others, leaders can multiply their influence and create a ripple effect of growth and success that extends far beyond their own career. Chapter 15, Character, the Foundation of Trust. In this chapter, John C. Maxwell emphasizes that character is the foundation of effective leadership. While many aspects of leadership are important, none is more critical than a leader's character. Without strong character, a leader cannot build trust, maintain credibility, or inspire loyalty among their followers. Maxwell argues that character is the bedrock on which all other leadership qualities are built. Maxwell begins by explaining that character is who you are when no one is watching. It's the sum total of your values, beliefs, and actions, and it shapes every decision you make as a leader. Leaders with strong character demonstrate integrity, honesty, humility, and consistency in their actions. They are reliable, trustworthy, and they lead by example. On the other hand, leaders with weak character may be skilled and charismatic, but they often struggle to maintain the trust and respect of their team. Maxwell defines character as moral and ethical strength, the inner compass that guides leaders to do the right thing, even when it's difficult or unpopular. Leaders with strong character don't just act ethically when it's convenient. They hold themselves to the highest standards at all times. Maxwell emphasizes that a leader's actions must align with their words. It's not enough to talk about integrity. Leaders must live it every day. The role of integrity in leadership. Maxwell highlights integrity as one of the most important aspects of character in leadership. Integrity means being honest, ethical, and having a consistent set of values that guide your behavior. Leaders with integrity are trustworthy because they do what they say they will do. They are reliable and consistent, and their followers know they can depend on them. Maxwell explains that integrity builds trust. Trust is the foundation of any strong relationship, and it's especially important in leadership. Without trust, followers are unlikely to fully commit to a leader's vision or direction. Leaders who demonstrate integrity earn the respect and loyalty of their team because people trust that their leader has their best interests at heart. Maxwell provides the example of Abraham Lincoln, whose integrity was one of the defining characteristics of his leadership. During the Civil War, Lincoln faced immense pressure and criticism, yet he remained committed to doing what he believed was right for the country. His honesty, humility, and moral strength helped him earn the trust of the American people, even in the most trying times. Maxwell cautions that leaders without integrity may achieve short-term success, but they will ultimately fail in the long run. People will follow leaders with weak character for a time, especially if they are charismatic or appear successful. But eventually, their lack of integrity will be exposed. When this happens, trust is broken, and the leader's influence collapses. Maxwell stresses that integrity is non-negotiable for effective leadership. It's the quality that sustains trust over the long haul. The power of consistency. Maxwell explains that another key component of character is consistency. Leaders with strong character are consistent in their values, behavior, and decision-making. This consistency creates a sense of stability and predictability, which builds trust with their followers. When leaders are consistent, their team knows what to expect from them and can rely on their guidance. Consistency is particularly important in times of crisis or uncertainty. Inconsistent leaders create confusion and insecurity because their team never knows how they will react or what decisions they will make. On the other hand, leaders who are consistent in their values and actions provide reassurance and stability, even when the circumstances are difficult. Maxwell shares the example of Mahatma Gandhi, whose unwavering commitment to nonviolent resistance was a testament to his consistency and character. Despite facing immense pressure and personal danger, Gandhi never wavered from his principles. His consistent adherence to nonviolence inspired millions of people and became the foundation of India's struggle for independence. Maxwell argues that leaders must be the same person in public and in private. They cannot afford to act one way when they're being watched and another when they're alone. Leaders who are inconsistent in their character, who say one thing but do another, quickly lose the trust and respect of their followers. True leadership, Maxwell explains, requires the discipline to be consistent in all areas of life, regardless of the situation. Humility as a mark of strong character. Another essential trait of character that Maxwell discusses is humility. Leaders with strong character are humble. They recognize that leadership is not about them, but about serving others and advancing the greater good. Humility allows leaders to put the needs of their team above their own ego and to lead with a servant's heart. Maxwell explains that humility is the opposite of arrogance. Arrogant leaders believe they are infallible and that they have all the answers. They are often dismissive of feedback or criticism, and they fail to recognize the contributions of others. Humble leaders, on the other hand, are open to learning, willing to admit their mistakes, and eager to give credit to their team. Humility allows leaders to build strong relationships, foster collaboration, and create a culture of respect. Maxwell shares the example of Nelson Mandela, whose humility was one of the defining characteristics of his leadership. Despite spending 27 years in prison and later becoming South Africa's first black president, Mandela never sought personal glory or power. Instead, he focused on healing the wounds of apartheid and creating a united, peaceful nation. Mandela's humility allowed him to earn the trust and respect of people from all backgrounds, and it enabled him to lead a divided country toward reconciliation. Maxwell encourages leaders to cultivate humility by focusing on serving others and recognizing that leadership is a privilege, not a right. Humility, he explains, is not about thinking less of yourself. It's about thinking of yourself less. Leaders with humility are secure in their own abilities, but they also recognize that they don't have all the answers and that they need the support and contributions of others to succeed. Courage and accountability. Maxwell explains that courage is another key aspect of character in leadership. Leaders with strong character have the courage to make difficult decisions, take risks, and stand up for what they believe in, even when it's unpopular. Courage allows leaders to push through fear and uncertainty and to lead with confidence in the face of adversity. Maxwell argues that courage is not the absence of fear. It's the ability to act in spite of fear. Leaders who lack courage may avoid making tough decisions or shy away from challenges, but leaders with courage are willing to take bold actions, knowing that leadership often requires stepping outside of one's comfort zone. Maxwell provides the example of Winston Churchill, whose courage was instrumental in leading Britain through World War II. When much of Europe had fallen to Nazi Germany and Britain stood alone, Churchill's courage and resolve inspired the nation to fight on, even when the odds seemed insurmountable. His famous speeches, including "We shall never surrender," rallied the British people and solidified his reputation as a leader with unshakable courage. Along with courage, Maxwell explains that leaders with strong character must also have a sense of accountability. Leaders must hold themselves accountable for their actions and decisions, and they must be willing to accept responsibility when things go wrong. Leaders who deflect blame or make excuses undermine their credibility and weaken their influence. Maxwell encourages leaders to embrace accountability as a tool for growth. He explains that accountability helps leaders stay aligned with their values and ensures that they are making decisions that are in the best interest of their team and organization. Leaders who are accountable foster a culture of transparency and trust, where everyone is encouraged to take responsibility for their actions. Character and long-term success. Maxwell concludes the chapter by explaining that character is the key to long-term success in leadership. While charisma and skills may help leaders achieve short-term success, it is their character that sustains them over the long haul. Leaders with strong character are able to weather the storms of leadership because they are grounded in their values and principles. Maxwell emphasizes that character is not something that leaders can fake. Over time, a leader's true character will be revealed, and if it's lacking, it will eventually undermine their leadership. Leaders who invest in building and maintaining their character create a solid foundation for their leadership that can withstand the challenges and pressures that come with the role. Maxwell uses the example of George Washington, whose character played a crucial role in his success as a leader during the American Revolution and as the first president of the United States. Washington's integrity, humility, and commitment to the principles of democracy earned him the respect and trust of the nation. His character allowed him to guide the young country through its formative years and helped establish a legacy of leadership that endures to this day. Maxwell encourages leaders to focus on building their character as a lifelong process. He explains that character is not something that is built overnight. It requires continuous effort, self-reflection, and a commitment to personal growth. Leaders who prioritize their character are better equipped to inspire trust, lead with integrity, and achieve lasting success. Chapter 16. Legacy, Leaving a Lasting Impact. In this chapter, John C. Maxwell emphasizes the importance of thinking beyond one's immediate leadership journey and focusing on the legacy a leader leaves behind. Leadership is not just about achieving short-term goals or personal recognition. It's about creating a lasting influence that continues to benefit others long after a leader has stepped down. Leaders with a long-term perspective understand that their impact must endure beyond their tenure, and they take intentional steps to build a legacy that will stand the test of time. Maxwell begins by explaining that legacy is the ultimate test of leadership. It is not defined by awards, titles, or achievements, but by the difference a leader makes in the lives of others and the ongoing success of the organization. Maxwell argues that great leaders focus on creating something that will outlive them. They do this by investing in people, shaping the culture, and ensuring that the organization continues to thrive after they are gone. Maxwell offers the example of Martin Luther King Jr., whose legacy of nonviolent resistance and advocacy for civil rights continues to inspire generations long after his death. King's influence did not end with his life. His leadership continues to shape the global fight for justice and equality. His legacy was built on a vision that transcended his personal achievements and focused on creating a better future for all people. Maxwell explains that leaders with a legacy mindset think beyond themselves. They recognize that their time in a leadership role is temporary, but their influence can be lasting. This perspective shifts their focus from personal ambition to the broader impact they want to make. Leaders who prioritize legacy focus on building a foundation that others can build upon, creating a ripple effect of positive change that extends far beyond their immediate circle of influence. The role of vision in building a legacy. Maxwell highlights the role of vision in creating a lasting legacy. Leaders who build enduring legacies have a clear, compelling vision for the future. They don't just focus on short-term gains. They are driven by a long-term vision that inspires and motivates others. This vision provides direction for their leadership and serves as a roadmap for the future, even after they have left their role. Maxwell emphasizes that legacy-minded leaders communicate their vision clearly and ensure that it is shared and embraced by others. They understand that their vision must be bigger than themselves, and they work to instill it in their team and organization. This ensures that the vision continues to guide the organization long after the leader is gone. Maxwell shares the story of Walt Disney, whose vision for creativity, innovation, and imagination continues to drive the success of the Disney empire long after his passing. Disney's legacy was not just about the theme parks and films he created during his lifetime. It was about the enduring vision of bringing joy and wonder to people of all ages. Today, the Disney brand remains synonymous with creativity and innovation, and it continues to shape the entertainment industry thanks to the legacy of Walt Disney's vision. Maxwell explains that leaders who want to leave a lasting legacy must anchor their leadership in a vision that transcends personal achievement. This vision must be something that inspires others to carry it forward, ensuring that the impact continues long after the leader is gone. The more compelling and inclusive the vision, the more likely it is to endure and become part of the leader's legacy. Investing in people for long-term success. Maxwell argues that one of the most significant ways leaders leave a legacy is by investing in people. Leaders who prioritize the growth and development of others create a ripple effect of influence that extends beyond their own leadership. By equipping, mentoring, and empowering others, leaders ensure that their values, principles, and vision live on in the people they leave behind. Maxwell explains that legacy-minded leaders focus on developing future leaders. They understand that their leadership journey is part of a larger continuum, and they are responsible for preparing the next generation to carry the torch. This involves identifying potential leaders, providing opportunities for growth, and creating a culture of leadership development. Maxwell provides the example of Nelson Mandela, who not only led South Africa through a period of transformation, but also focused on developing a new generation of leaders who could continue the work of building a more inclusive and just society. Mandela's legacy was not just about his achievements as a leader, but about the way he inspired and nurtured others to step into leadership roles. Maxwell encourages leaders to ask themselves, who am I developing to carry on the legacy? Leaders who invest in others create a multiplier effect. By helping others reach their potential, they ensure that their influence extends far beyond their own time in leadership. This investment in people is one of the most powerful ways to leave a lasting legacy. Shaping organizational culture. Maxwell also emphasizes the importance of shaping organizational culture as a key component of legacy. Leaders who create strong, positive cultures leave behind an enduring influence that continues to shape the organization's values, behaviors, and success. Culture is the invisible force that guides how people behave, make decisions, and interact with one another. Leaders who intentionally shape culture leave a legacy that lasts far beyond their individual tenure. Maxwell explains that leaders create culture by modeling the behaviors and values they want to see. When leaders consistently demonstrate integrity, collaboration, innovation, or accountability, they set the tone for the rest of the organization. Over time, these values become embedded in the organization's culture and continue to guide its actions even after the leader has moved on. Maxwell uses the example of Steve Jobs, who was known for fostering a culture of innovation and excellence at Apple. Even after Jobs' death, his legacy of demanding the highest standards and pushing the boundaries of technology continues to influence Apple's culture and success. The innovation and creativity that Jobs instilled in the organization remains central to its identity and drive its ongoing success. Maxwell argues that leaders must be intentional about shaping the culture they want to leave behind. This involves defining the core values that should guide the organization, modeling those values consistently, and ensuring that they are reinforced through policies, practices, and leadership development. Leaders who shape a strong, positive culture create a lasting legacy that continues to influence the organization long after they are gone. Succession planning as a legacy strategy. Maxwell emphasizes that succession planning is a critical component of leaving a lasting legacy. Leaders who care about their legacy take the time to plan for their departure and ensure that the organization is set up for continued success. Succession planning involves identifying and preparing future leaders to step into key roles, ensuring a smooth transition when leadership changes occur. Maxwell explains that leaders who neglect succession planning risk leaving a leadership vacuum. Without a clear plan for the future, the organization may struggle to maintain momentum or face uncertainty when a leader steps down. Legacy-minded leaders prioritize the development of future leaders and create a succession plan that ensures continuity and stability. Maxwell shares the example of Jack Welch, who was CEO of General Electric, GE, for 2 decades. Welch was known not only for his success in transforming GE into a global powerhouse, but also for his commitment to succession planning. He spent years developing and mentoring potential successors, ultimately selecting Jeff Immelt as his successor. Welch's careful succession planning ensured that GE continued to thrive after his departure, solidifying his legacy as a leader who prepared the organization for long-term success. Maxwell encourages leaders to think ahead and be proactive about succession planning. By identifying potential leaders early, providing them with development opportunities, and ensuring a smooth transition of leadership, leaders can leave behind a strong foundation that ensures the organization's continued growth and success. Measuring the impact of your legacy. Maxwell concludes the chapter by discussing how leaders can measure the impact of their legacy. He explains that legacy is not something that can be fully evaluated during a leader's lifetime. Instead, legacy is measured by the ongoing influence a leader has on the people, culture, and success of the organization long after they are gone. Maxwell encourages leaders to regularly reflect on their leadership journey and ask themselves, what will I leave behind? This question prompts leaders to think about the long-term impact of their actions, decisions, and relationships. It shifts the focus from short-term achievements to the broader legacy they are building. Maxwell emphasizes that a legacy is built day by day through intentional actions, decisions, and investments in others. Leaders who consistently align their actions with their values, invest in the growth of their team, and focus on creating a positive culture are laying the foundation for a lasting legacy. Maxwell uses the example of Mother Teresa, whose legacy of compassion, service, and selflessness continues to inspire people around the world. Her legacy was not built on personal accolades or achievements, but on the countless lives she touched through her work with the poor and the sick. Mother Teresa's life of service created a ripple effect that continues to influence people long after her death. Maxwell concludes the chapter by reminding leaders that legacy is not about what you accomplish for yourself. It's about what you leave behind for others. Leaders who focus on building a lasting legacy create a positive, enduring impact that continues to benefit others for generations to come. Are you interested in reading the entire book? We got you a link in the description down below.